Good morning to everybody. How you doing, Opals? Well, keep up the beautiful work. Today is Friday, Erev Shabbat Kodesh, Parashat Aharei Mot, Kedoshim Emor. It's raining outside. Legend has it when it rains in the month of Iyar, it is a beracha for refuah. Iyar stands for Ani Hashem Rofecha. Please Hashem, all those that need refuah shelemah should have refuah shelemah. The hostages should come home ASAP. The soldiers should come home, and everyone should go home to Yerushalayim Habnuya Bezat Hashem Bekarov. Even though it seems gloomy, but we have sunshine because we have each other. Baruch Hashem, inshallah, till 120 with good health and everything perfect, always. So the book of Vayikra goes by pretty quickly. Why? Because Bereshit, we don't really have doubles. Shemot, maybe one. And over here, Vayikra, we have a lot of double parashiot on Shabbatot. We had last week Tazria Mesorah. This week, Aharei Mot Kedoshim. Next week is a singles event, and the week after that is a double parasha again, Bahar Bechukotai, and then we finished the book of Vayikra. We had 3 sets of double parashiot. May we have double beracha. Aharei Mot speaks about basically 2 items. Number one, the first half is Yom Kippur, all the Seder HaAvodah. So even though it's not Kippur now, however, when we do learn about certain sacrifices and things, we know there's a famous pasuk, Unshalma Parim Sifatenu. By praying and learning with our mouth the sacrifices and the korbanot, we end up, it's as if we did it in certain ways. I mean, all we need is a guy to read the Pesukim where you have to fast on Kippur and say, I'm a free bird. I don't have to fast because I read it. It's as if I did it. So in certain ways, it's as if we did it. That's why korbanot in the morning is so important. Hamavadya was always, when he spoke about korbanot, he would really, really push it on the people. In our community, not everyone gets to say korbanot, but most definitely they should have someone in the minyan reading korbanot before they start. Really, most minyanim, they start Vaydaber and then Hashem Melech. What happened to all in between Vaydaber and Hashem Melech? The Akedat Yitzhak, the Korban Tamid, Savet Bnei Israel, Atahu for the Ketoret. So yes, there are certain things we could skip. Recommended, whoever knows it by heart should at least say it on the way to shul, in the home, while you're, and of course now after you wash Netilat Yadayim, you should say Birkat Torah. But we did mention in the past that there is what to rely on to pray certain pisukim without saying Birkat Torah, even though it's Torah, because it's a prayer fashion and not a learning Torah fashion. But of course, the real halacha is that most definitely you should try to say Birkat Torah before we do pray pisukim. But anyway, like I said, Hamavadya took it very seriously, and he really tried to push it. He said there are certain kinds of pieces, people of our nation that might not, or not all our brethren out there have the custom to say it. Of course, we're all brothers, but he said the Sephardics should most definitely say it, and they got used to not saying it. It's not good. Of course, we say Ketoret after the Amidah, after Asher Uval Tzion, but we should even say it before. If you say it 3 times a day, it's beracha. We mentioned this in the past. The Moshe Rabbeinu, when he went up to heaven, the angels started putting up a fight that he's not taking up down the Torah to the people. It's for them. Long story short, of course, he ended up winning the argument, and here we are till this very day. The Torah is our main essence of who we are. So after he got the Torah and he's bringing it down, every angel went to go give him a present. And you would think that the year Sahara, you wouldn't want his present, right? Would anyone want a fish in a newspaper from somebody that the last name that ends with Ini or something, right? But Zini, to say whatever it might be. Certain people you might think you can't trust, but it was a literal, a good present, a legitimate present. And the Yisara told him, if you bring and get involved in the Ketoret, then it chases him and his cronies away. So it's a no-brainer. Definitely, we should try to say Ketoret in the morning. And don't tell this to the wrong people. But if someone cannot say the Akedah because of time, there is a pasuk in the Sidur, V'shahat oto hayirech hamizbeach tzafona lefnei Hashem. If you say that pasuk, our rabbis tell us, it says in the Midrash, Hashem promises that He's going to remember the Akedat Yitzhak. So, like we said, if someone doesn't have time for it, then you could definitely at least say that pasuk and try to say the minimum of the Ketoret. So, if we have this week's parasha is talking about Kippur, so Bezrat Hashem it will be when we learn about it as if we brought the korbanot of Kippur, and inshallah it will be a kapara. Not that anyone we know has any sins, but people far away in Neverland might have a sin or six. But thank God it's not us over here. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And Hamavadyah didn't only preach this, but this was his way of living, that we learn from the concept of
Bye. Thank you for
the
coming.
we learn
Bye,
from the
bye. I'm
concept
gonna get ticket after you.
we
Bye.
learn from the
You pay for you
concept
know it.
we got to charge that guy a fee. But anyway, we learned from the concept of the Kohen Gadol. He used to have a box with a kalpi, it was called, and inside there were papers. One said La Hashem and one said La Azazel. Then afterwards, there was a queen, Heleni Hamalka. She made them gold little plaques, heke, like mahjong chips, whatever they called, and it said on them Lashem and one to Azazel. If he had two goats, one on each side, and it would be good luck for the Jewish people and a beracha if they would take out, if the Kohen Gadol would take out the first one with his right hand, and that's La Hashem, and that would be a korban for Hashem. And the next one he would pull out and it would be Azazel and go on the left one that we of the left goat, which we push down a hill. First of all, what does pushing down the hill a goat have to do with anything? So we know Hashem made a system in the world, and we know there's a court case up there. And who's the main prosecutor? Of course, the Yesahara himself, and he makes a lot of trouble. So sometimes we got to throw the dog a bone as a bribe, and then he doesn't, God forbid, he doesn't prosecute against the people. We spoke about this in the past. When we eat bread, we wash mayim haronim. It's not only a halacha for a surface understanding, there's a Kabbalistic understanding. The reason why on the surface, the halacha, why we wash mayim haronim, because in the old days, they did not have salt shakers like we have. They had the little tiny bowl with salt in it, and people would take a little pinch of the salt and sprinkle it. BTW, Chacham Ovadia did not even know how to use a salt shaker. He had one of those little items, and he would take a pinch and he would sprinkle it. So now, if someone has salt on their fingertips and they get an itch in their eye, they might rub their eye, and God forbid the salt could go in. There were certain signs of salt which we call melach sedomit. It could, God forbid, do something to someone's eyesight, to say the least, Shema Israel. So that's why on the surface we wash mayim haronim. So today with salt shakers, we're not pinching salt. We don't eat with our hands like maybe they did in the old days, unless it's a lahamajin. I would say that I was about to say this afternoon, but not to talk lashon hara. I know people that are already meated this fine morning. They should eat with good health. Baruch Hashem, yishtabach shemo la'ad. Thank God for soy milk and almond milk. because if he does need a coffee, yalla. In the old days, people would never want to be meted. What if I get ice cream? Sometimes you might have a family member. It's 3 a.m. and you're starving. You order Uber Eats and you get lahme. The girls won't eat. Why are you not eating meat? I don't want to be meated. What exactly dairy is going to show up at 3 a.m. till you wake up in the morning? I mean, someone's bringing Dubai chocolate. Heck yeah. So anyway, it's a thing. So anyway, people are already meated. If someone's hands are dirty, then of course we always wash them. Fancy restaurants, I think, give those little tablets that you add water and it turns into a rag. Long story short, that's the reason why we wash my maharonim on the surface. But Kabbalistically, when someone's eating, Baruch Hashem, they should eat with good health and beracha. But some people, when they're stuffing their faces, like we always say, a lafa is not big enough for certain people, mashallah. They get three together and they throw in everything possible. Anything that's not nailed to the table, they're putting in that sandwich and they're eating. While they're eating a sandwich like that, I don't really think they're thinking about Rashi from the parasha. It could be they're worried about stuffing their face. Pass me the soda or whatever it might be. So because of that, the Yesahara unfortunately prosecutes against people in heaven at that moment. So, number one, we keep salt on the table to scare him away as well. When we were kids in the movies and the cartoons, they threw salt over their shoulder. They got the salt thing from us. Salt does scare away the Yesahara, but also we wash Mayim Maharonim. When we wash Mayim Maharonim, it's as if we're throwing the dog a bone. That tuma in the water goes to the Yesahara so he doesn't prosecute against us. On Kippur, when all of Am Yisrael is getting judged, and it should be the shelemah, the rule is we also have to throw the dog a bone. So we give a korban to the Yesahara himself, and we call it Azazel. Azazel is not a word that was invented by Israeli cab drivers when somebody cuts them off, to say the least. And there's children in the car, so they can't say other words. So they might say La Jazel. But Azazel was a cliff outside of Yerushalayim, and they threw the goat down. So now the Kohen would come and push him with his two hands, and the goat, thank God there was no PETA back then, the animal activists, and they were able to throw the goat down the mountain to forgive the people for all of their sins. And as we know, Kippur time, we talk about this in the Seder Avodah. There was a red scarlet, a scarf that was they would cut in half, tie half of it to the goat, tie half of it, hang it from the one of the doors of the Beit Hamikdash. As soon as that goat went Humpty Dumpty style down the hill, the red scarf would turn white in front of everyone, and that's what the pasuk means. Kesheleg yalbinu. Long story short, when we bring the korban on the right for Hashem, it's bringing it closer to Hashem. And that's with the right hand. When we push, it's the Azazel, it's with our left hand. It's on the left side of the Kohen, Gadol at that moment. So Hamadia learns from here and other rabbis as well. This is where we learn how we should be Bezrat Hashem. There are times that we have to reprimand, but there are times that we have to bring closer and love people. The one to bring closer, the one for Hashem is karev, is sacrificed, is a korban. That's to bring close. That you use your right hand. You use your stronger hand to bring people closer with good words and with warmth. And the other hand, the left hand is where we push. The weaker hand is what we reprimand. Hamadia always used to say, Yamin mekarev v'smol docher. We use the less stronger hand, the weaker hand to put to rebuke, but the stronger hand to bring closer. And that's the way of the religion. Sometimes people, and it's not only religion, it's also in the household. Sometimes people think the tougher you are, the stronger you are, that's going to bring the children closer. That's not what it is. It's the talking, it's the love and the warmth. The same thing applies in school, the same thing applies in work, and applies everywhere in life. That's what the rabbi used to learn. Yamin mekarev and small docher. That's a rule of life. The second part of the parasha is a little random of a connection. It might seem random. We know everything in the Torah has a reason why it's next to one another. We learn out one another. Why is the Seder of Kippur the first part of the parasha, and then it goes to the illegal marriages, relationships that, of course, we know are forbidden, that are abomination, etc. All kinds of things which we call an erva. Person can't be with this one, a person can't be with that one. Where did we get that from? What do we learn from there? The connection. And our rabbis tell us a few answers. Number one, we read on Kippur the first part of the parasha where it tells us about the seder havodah of the Kohen Gadol, which we were just discussing. And then in Minha time, we read the forbidden relationships in Minha time. Of course, we read Yonah for the Haftarah, but Minha time we read the forbidden relationships. On Kippur, that's what we're going to teach about, because when we read the Torah, what we're really doing is teaching the people a lesson. What is it? So our rabbis tell us that sometimes people think when they're on a certain level, they're going to be okay. I'm not going to sin. I'm going to be okay. I'm strong enough. The rabbis made fences. I don't need no fences. I am good. How you doing? As it says in Pirkei Avot, right? You can't believe in yourself. Al ta'amin ba'atzmecha. We should live and be well ad yom motcha. Till the last day, a person can't trust himself. We know the famous story. There was one time the great, he should rest in peace and be a blessing for all of us, Rabbi Eliyahu Lopian. He was a mashgiach in the yeshiva. His grandson is a rabbi in our community. He should live and be well, and everyone should be healthy. He used to be a mashgiach, so if a boy is missing from yeshiva, he would ask him, "Where were you? Everything okay?" Because if there's no accountability, then when the cat's away, the mice will play. So that's what a yeshiva is all about, and that's what anything is all about. So the one boy, he missed night Seder, and the rabbi goes over to him the next day. "We missed you last night. Where were you?" He said, "Oh, I had a wedding." He said, "Nice, beautiful, Shir Busa Mahor. Where was the wedding?" And all of a sudden, he mentions a place. He said, "On a table in Ibiza." How you doing? And this is a yeshiva bacher. And the rabbi says, "You went to a wedding over there?" He says, "Yes." He says, "Shema Israel." How in heaven's name could a yeshiva boy go to a wedding in a place like that with all the pity suit and the immodest dress, etc., and the music isn't so kosher and the dancing isn't so kosher? So the yeshiva boy tells the rabbi, "Rabbi, believe it or not, I got to a level where these things don't affect me." And the rabbi says, "Wow, nice." He pulls out his little pad, the rabbi. All in Israel, they have these little pads that you can't be a rabbi if you don't have them. And he pulls out the good old pencil and he pulls out his list where he prays for people for the refuah shelemah. And the boy sees it and he says, "Tell me your Hebrew name and your mom's Hebrew name." And he's like, "Huh?" He says, "Yeah, I'm writing you down on the refuah shelemah list." He says, "Refuah shelemah, but I feel great." He says, "Mama, you are so sick, you don't even know. If you don't have a desire when you go, that means there's something wrong with you." And the rabbi, he tells the student that the rabbi is blind in one eye. He has one foot in the grave, Shema Israel, and he says, "I still can't control." And you, as a bacher in your prime, when you're strong, home, etc. You want to tell me? So it must be you're sick. So let me write down your name. And the boy got the lesson. So the reason why we read that on Kippur in the afternoon is to teach us the holiest day of the year. When someone might think, I'm not sitting, I'm a tzaddik, I'm this, I'm that, guess what? You better be careful. No matter what it was, we have to know how bad these things are, and a person can never trust themselves. Then we go to parasha number 2, Kiddushim. After, besides Parashat Ki Tetzeh, which we read in the summer, Kiddushim has the most mitzvot in it as well. There are many mitzvot in this week's parasha, but the famous ones are in the beginning. Everybody knows of Kaved et Avicha v'et Imecha. That's in Yitro, but over here it says Ish aviv imo tirau. A child must fear his father, his mother and father. Imo v'aviv tirau, right? In the Kaveret Avicha, it says father first. When it comes to fear, it says mother first. So first of all, it's no coincidence that Mother's Day is this Sunday. However, yours truly teaches the children in school. Mother's Day is nice. However, Baba, every day is Mother's Day. God bless our community, Abus, because you have the grandchildren named after the grandparents, and the grandparents are the ones we grow up with. So one day I'm in class, Erev Mother's Day in school, and I tell the children that there's not one Mother's Day, there's 365 Mother's Days a year. And a kid in first grade raises his hand and he says, Rabbi, there's only one Mother's Day. Imagine. So I say, Baba, come here. What's your name? And he told me a name that there's not too many names like that in the community. We'll call him Batichowitz. And I say, I said, what's your name? He told me. I said, what? His grandpa is my buddy. He's in my phone. I FaceTime the grandpa middle of work, and he answers when he saw. And I have the grandson standing there with me. And I said, Grandpa, I'm here having a little machloket with your namesake. We're having a fight. How many Mother's Days are there? I told him every day is Mother's Day, and he believes there's one. Long story short, yes. So we have Mother's Day. It should be with beracha. But of course, we know in our nation, every day is Mother's Day. Every day is Father's Day. Everyone should live and be well. There was a rabbi in the Gemara years ago. They did not have floors like we do. They had sand floors. And the rabbi was watching his mother get off the couch or get whatever it may have been, and she did not have her slippers nearby. The rabbi, Ricky Henderson style, slides onto first base underneath the mother's feet, and he puts his hands on the sand on underneath his mother's feet. He says, "My mother will not step on a floor like this." And this is one of the greatest rabbis, imagine, of our nation, and that's how he believes that we that's how we have to honor the mother. So yes, now we know the famous question: how come in the Ten Commandments, not the movie, in the real Ten Commandments, the Aseret HaDibrot, when it says Kaved et Avicha v'et Imecha, it says father first. But then when it comes to this week's parasha, you have to fear your mother first. It's mentioned first. How come? And the answer is simple. Of course, someone in our community can't understand this, but someone in Neverland can understand it. Sometimes, because maybe the fathers are a little tougher than the mothers are, so it's possible that far away in Neverland, the mother gets more honor than the father, because the father's the one who gives him a backhand slap when he's chewing too loud at the table, or maybe when he did this in school, he gets the shahata, he gets the asayeh, whatever it might be. Some, not to talk lashon hara about any rabbis you might know, but I think the belt that my father used is still smoking, hanging in the closet, because Baruch Hashem, and thank God. But anyway, long story short, because it's less possible, it's more possible that the son doesn't honor the father as much. So when it comes to honor, the Torah tells us the father first, because that's where you got to put the emphasis. But over here, people fear their father more than they fear their mother. So therefore, the Torah in this week's parasha tells us, when it comes to fearing, having awe and reverence for the parents, it says the mother first, because like we said, it's possible, since the kid's not as scared, so he doesn't have as much awe for the mother, and therefore the Torah tells us the mother first. We also know that the more we respect our parents, number one, you get this world and you get the next world. Now, we should live and be well, but for those whose parents may have passed away, you could still honor them. We light candles for them. We do mitzvot for them. I know someone, every time they make a beracha, even though the year is over, they say their names. You don't have to do that, but we're always doing things. And even though after a year as well, we don't say Kaddish anymore. However, the Kaddish after a class of learning Torah, when they say, don't get excited, when they say Rabbi Hananya ben Akashya Omer, and anybody who had in our community where someone passed away, they could say it even after the year is over, because it's always a zechut. The Gemara says the world stands on the Kaddish after learning Torah, believe it or not. Still, even though we have a minyan over here on the Zoom, however, it doesn't count for a minyan. As we know, it's as if we're all together forever, but we're not together in the same room, and therefore, obviously, there's no Kaddish. But the next time we're in Knis, and you are in the what they call the club of saying Kaddish, say it after learning. Why not? It's a beracha, Be'ezrat Hashem, and a zechut for all our loved ones, which we'll see soon with the Mashiach that's coming ASAP because of all of you learning. We'll stop here for today. I hope everyone has the greatest day. We should only see good things. Besorot Tovot. Have the greatest Shabbat and all the best. Take care. Bye.